Right now, though, we're going to be talking about finances and health remaining top contributors to the levels of stress that people experience on a day-to-day basis. This is according to a survey by medical aid ProfMed. Completed in November, the survey was taken by over 3,500 professionals from ProfMed's membership base across a variety of sectors. Excuse me, and I'm joined now in the studio by Craig Comrie, the ProfMed CEO. Craig, welcome. Thank you for your time this morning.
Morning, Natasha.
So I suppose we've just come out of the December holidays. People should be feeling relaxed, should be feeling sort of ready and charged for the year ahead. But if you think about what the country is experiencing in terms of massive job losses, an economy that's sort of floundering, I would imagine that job security and finances are sort of contributing to people's overall stress levels. And according to your survey, it looks like over the last 3 years, although the stress index results have remained fairly consistent, I'm imagining that if you had to take the survey, I don't know, in 6 months from now, maybe it would look a little bit different. What does the survey tell us?
There's no doubt that the professional people are also suffering in the economy. And so what we have seen is that they are ranked in terms of benchmarking, in terms of the world, more stressed than their counterparts elsewhere. So the global economy and the situation even in the country creates more stresses even for the professionals. And many of these are accountants and lawyers, and the bulk of our members are in fact medical doctors. And so they are closely connected to the people that they service. And so we do see their stress levels actually increasing over time, perhaps not over the last 2 years, but certainly over the last 5 years, there's been an increase in terms of the stress that they are experiencing. And we see it manifest in terms of long-term healthcare outcomes as well. And so you would have seen that the second highest reason for stress is in fact health. And it's closely related to the fact that when we go through long periods of stressful times, we try and we don't know what mechanisms we should be using to actually cope with it. And so it starts to affect not just our finances, but our personal lives. And we see number 3 on the outcomes in terms of stress is the effect on families as well.
Yeah. So what should people be looking out for just in terms of stress levels?
So there are a few things that you need to look out for. The number one thing that our survey indicated were people were struggling with sleep. So to sleep enough hours, to actually sleep well, is very important in terms of your mental wellness as well. So sleep is one of the items. Change in eating habits. Exercise is definitely the other thing that you need to be doing in terms of coping with stress. But we also need to be aware of our alcohol and other intake, especially since the Christmas period as well.
So it's interesting that you mention exercise because that, of course, releases certain endorphins. And I'm wondering about, I recently learned that stress because stress can lead to depression, anxiety is sort of formed in the gut and has to do with your chemicals in your body. So this is not a new phenomenon, but it seems that stress might be triggering greater levels of depression and anxiety amongst people.
So one of the questions we asked this year was, do our members actually realize that stress could be good for you as well? So many do realize that. It's the same hormone that gets triggered that makes us, certainly affects other healthcare related issues and the mental wellness thing. So what you really need to be doing is making sure that you plan this year and make it a goal this year to plan to recuperate. And I think we've sometimes lost the ability to rest properly. So often when people go away on leave, and if you have the privilege of having some leave, it takes you a week before you really get into feeling recuperated and rested. And so it's something that we need to plan into the coming year to say this is how we recuperate and this is how we actually rest.
And what usually happens is that people don't take leave for sort of months on end. The whole year will go by. People are working. Come December, you take your week or 2 weeks off, and as you say, it's not enough time for people. And I think I've spoken to 4 people coming back to work in the new year that have got sick, had flu. So it's like they just get that little bit of rest, and then their bodies get hit with some flu or something.
So holiday is definitely one of the ways you can cope, but I think a good thing to do is actually plan for your next bit of rest. So in your weekly routine and cycle, actually find a space and a time you can plan to rest and maybe think of nothing. Switch off all the gadgets so that they don't intrude on your rest, and make sure you do recuperate. And so it really is important to make sure you aren't waiting till the next December, which is a long ways away, before you can rest.
So how often should you be taking a good rest?
So it depends on what a good rest means, but plan your weekends very carefully, and certainly even on a daily basis, plan some time that you can take some time for yourself. And that's how you actually recuperate your energy.
Why did Profmed, or why does Profmed do this survey?
So we've seen over the last 5 or 10 years that mental illnesses that relate to stress have become one of our top 5 chronic illness conditions. And so we keep track of this and keep on finding ways in which we can educate and make our members aware of how they can cope with the stress in their lives.
All right, Craig, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much for coming in this morning. Craig Comrie, Profmed CEO, talking to us this morning about stress levels and how people should cope or are not coping. Levels of stress and anxiety and depression certainly in this country are quite high. Not a new phenomenon, but perhaps you need to take a look at, are you getting enough rest? Are you getting enough sleep, enough exercise? Take care of yourselves as we head into